Sorry for the short delay there, but I think we got everything going.
Yeah, a few tech issues, but we deal with it
We do indeed. Somehow we managed to make it work. So,
somehow.
yep. Every time. Hey,
Always a
everyone.
bit of a surprise.
Oh, and I need to send my tweet now that I know that we're actually doing this. Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, everyone. Oh, it's great to see everyone in the chat. Happy Sunday. I've got my general purpose garment on. um, we are here to discuss Deep Space Nine. If you haven't been here before, this is first time viewer Samantha, and I am longtime viewer Erin. And we are going to be discussing season 2 of Deep Space Nine, episodes 5 through 10. So we're going to get through 6 episodes in the next hour. I will not be able to spill over because I have to go to Fort Collins Comic-Con and do another panel there, which is Science Q&A, and I'll pitch that again at the end. Thank you very much, DS9 fan. I'm very happy that I have this now because I don't know if people saw my previous tweet. When I got this shirt, I was so excited because I have a Starfleet Academy like in-universe shirt that is so worn you can barely read it. So yeah, I was very excited about this. All right, you ready to go, Samantha?
Let's dive in.
All right. So first up, we are going to be talking about the episode Cardassians. This is the episode where a kid shows up on the ship who is a Cardassian with a Bajoran parent, and he's got a Bajoran earring in, and he interrupts Garrick and Bashir's lunch and basically attacks Garrick and bites him. And then Garrick and Bashir go in investigation mode. So, first of all, it's a Garrick episode. Yay!
I was so excited to see him again.
Yay, good, I'm so glad. You're getting into that mode where you're like cold open Garrick.
And also, I thought, we thought we might see him a little bit more than we did because it's only been one episode
Right.
that I've seen him in. So now I'm like, oh, I see what she meant. He's not actually in that many episodes.
Yeah, it's weird.
So every
isn't
time
it?
I see him, I'm like, yay.
But the episodes he is in, he steals them. So, so yeah, what do you think of this episode? This is an interesting one.
It is, yeah. With this whole series of episodes for today, I had some takeaways, and then the Bajorans are actually not that great of people.
It's a complicated race. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this episode, I was like, they're not coming into my good graces, really. They're pretty xenophobic. They're basically brainwashing kids to hate their own kind. And that was a little bit revealing. And they're religious extremists, exactly.
Yeah.
As someone just said in the chat. And yeah, I don't like this. That was one of the main takeaways I had from this episode.
Interesting.
I didn't quite follow all of the political intrigue of.
Good, because I did, and I love it.
I saw your note. Like, I kind of had to go back and watch the scenes a couple times to figure it out, but I still didn't quite get what happened. And your note said that basically Gul Dukat planted this kid in the orphanage so that he could bring down his political rival, who's the kid's actual father.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know if they ever make it clear that the kid is I think they do establish by the end that it is actually his son. But the whole point was that, yeah, Gul Dukat set this up so when there was a reveal that his kid was abandoned. Because remember, the whole thing at the beginning was like, look, there's no way the Cardassians would have abandoned children here when they left. That was like Garrick's whole thing. He's like,
right,
I'm known for my detail, Bashir. That's
and so are Cardassians. Like,
right.
That's what his whole thing was, is they keep these meticulous records. And Garrick is like, that's one thing we gave to the Bajorans was record keeping.
Right.
Which is a little, but yeah, so, that whole, the thing with Gul Dukat was, I thought I sort of cautiously liked him. I wasn't sure, but he seemed like a relatively reasonable diplomat, like somebody that was working with Cisco, like in the episodes I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Be clear to everybody.
Yep.
I am only up to this point.
Yep. That's fair. And he's only been in a couple so far too.
A couple. Yeah. But this episode made me go, oh no.
I am gonna come back to that. I am gonna continually ask you what your thoughts on Gul Dukat are, because it's, as Andy just put in the chat, our relationship with Dukat is a roller coaster. That's
becoming very evident.
Yeah. And then just some comments. People are complicated, and then Bashir lying into Dukat is so good. Agreed, Daib. We'll come to that one as well. And that's how Dukat messes with us. DS9 fan pointed out the civilian government ordered the military away against Dukat's wishes, and then he set it up for revenge at a later date. I mean, the dude, as we'll discover, he plays the long game. Dukat plays the long game, for sure.
And that's the thing. People who play long games stress me out because they're so smart and able to like parse out, like, I have to do this thing that maybe I'm not as keen about in order to make this thing happen. I have to be nice to this person so that will happen. And it's their prediction level is insane.
Yeah, you can just never trust them. So it's pretty intense. But that's one of the things that I love that they set up with Garrick being a part of this episode, because he pieced it together. And as soon as they find out that the person who brought the kid to the orphanage was a commander from Terok Nor, which was the Cardassian word for Deep Space Nine, he was like, oh, that's Gul Dukat. And then it's just that look on Garrick and Andy Robinson's acting, just full credit to him, of just like, I got him. I know what's what. Yeah. It's really good. Cairo made the point that Dukat has these moments where he becomes likable and then immediately makes a left turn. And
that's what I'm noticing. Yeah.
That's really fair. So my favorite thing with Garrick is just every time he loves this game. I think is the fun part about it. And obviously, I mean, you can see I get very excited about it too, but the political intrigue. So it was the long game, really. Yeah.
And but the thing with Garrick that's interesting is that he's got this sort of charismatic energy that is also a little bit unsettling, because you're not sure if he's also playing a long game and he's just befriending everybody in order to make this big evil reveal at the end of like the series or something.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And how he's always teasing Bashir, because Bashir hangs out with him enough that he's just like,
love them together.
How, as a tailor, did you just hack into those computer systems?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was great.
Exactly. And Astra made a good point. It's an example of how we should not judge a group of people from their religious, military, political leaders. And that's totally fair.
Absolutely.
But this whole set of episodes, I have, as we'll discuss, I have feelings about these, and I'm sure you do too. But I think one of the things that they did is this is where at the beginning of season 2, I'm feeling like it's starting to gray out all the lines of like who's bad and who's good. None of it's clear right now.
Yeah, it's really muddled at the moment, for sure.
Yeah. And I love, we're just all the random Garrick moments of, especially like at the end too, when Bashir's kind of pinning him down and he's like, so what is your history with Gul Dukat? And he just kind of brushes, it's devil's in the details. Look at the crumbs. It's funny.
Yeah, they're great. And I'm having a few cobwebs about this episode because it was about a week ago, but I think Bashir had some great moments here with Gul Dukat, right?
Yeah. Because he's there when Bashir's pinning him to the wall and says, we got you.
Yeah. That was good.
That he's just like, hi. And then too, I think, we got some moments where Cisco is kind of letting Gul Dukat know that they're onto him, and Gul Dukat knows that Garrick is and there's like a whole like
there's a lot of like eye contact going on.
Yeah. So let's briefly, before we go on from this one, talk a little bit about O'Brien, because I actually think that this adds more depth to O'Brien's character as well, because this is the first time where we kind of really see that I guess we saw it a little bit in TNG. I'm trying to remember, but his racism towards Cardassians from having been in the Cardassian conflict. I was curious what your thoughts are on that because I find it really interesting.
Yeah, it was noticeable here more so than I'd seen before, I think. And I think it's just indicative of their like the response that can be natural when you are in that situation of everyone is like that, of this entire, race that when you I've never been in war, so I can't really say that, but
Right.
it's, you see them as it, from what it seems like, you see them as a group as opposed to individuals. Like that's how you're supposed to, because otherwise, it's the whole "All Quiet on the Western Front." It's based on that premise.
Right.
And so I think he clearly has a little bit of that lumping them together issue.
Which
Same.
Keiko full on calls him out for.
Yeah.
Where he's like, she's like, that was an ugly thing you just said.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
never want to hear you say that again. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, credit
Which
to her.
Totally. Yeah, that was fantastic.
And then ironically, the fact that O'Brien kind of bonded with this kid because they hated Cardassians together.
Yeah.
Like when Keiko made this Cardassian food for them and they kind of look at each other and they're like,
yeah. But yeah, which was also kind of interesting because he's never had Cardassian food. Like, so why would that make him feel better? Like, that was an interesting misjudgment, I thought, but it helped him and O'Brien connect.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I like it. I like this episode. I think this was a good one.
Yeah. I thought the father figure, the Cardassian father, was interestingly nuanced because
Khoton Padar.
Is that what his name was?
I made a note so I'd remember it. I don't have that here.
You're like, pull that one out.
I can't take credit for that.
Yeah. I thought he was very interesting in that he had a lot of sensitivity
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you mean the Cardassian dad or the Bajoran dad?
The Cardassian dad, not the Bajoran dad. The Bajoran dad was
yeah.
No. Just his clear feelings about seeing the boy and knowing that it's going to take a lot of time for him to adapt, and the kid was stuck in this nasty custody battle essentially, and
I think I mean, Gul Dukat is another piece of work, but the depth that we're getting into these characters from the Bajorans all the way to the Cardassians are really interesting. And Daib made a good point of the scene where the kid asks O'Brien if he hates Cardassians, like all Cardassians. And O'Brien kind of is like, oh, God, like, if I was drinking with my buddies, I'd be, yeah. You can kind of see those wheels turning, but then he explains, this is a kid. And he's like, oh, I don't hate them all. And
yeah,
it's interesting.
Definitely. Cool.
Any final thoughts on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay, so let's go on to Melora. So the next episode is Melora. This is where we get the woman who comes from a planet that has low gravity, so she struggles to be mobile in artificial gravity. Bashir and her kind of make a connection, and he's trying to help accommodate her as much as possible. And then Quark is dealing with this dude, Cott. The guy, if you don't remember, is the guy with that thing. And to settle out his debts. So I'm really curious on your thoughts on this one.
Well, yeah. So when this started, and the Melora character came on board, I was like, oh, she is annoying. Like, I was not liking her. And I saw your note about their chemistry. Like, yeah, no real chemistry. She had this really abrasive character. But also, I kind of identify with that a little bit. Like, I'm like, I think it was grating and annoying because I've been like that before. Like growing up, it was always this sort of like, pre-assuming that somebody is assuming something about you, like that you can't do something. And for me, it was like, because I'm a girl or because I'm shy or this or that. Like I needed to prove them wrong before knowing what they actually thought. So that was an interesting, just character-wise, I identify with that, but she was so annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the way they present her character, I think, comes across as a little problematic at times. And then, yeah, Erin Harvey mentioned that this has a lot of weird, problematic messages about being differently abled. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting approach. They're trying to make like a fully fleshed out character, and I think just the way she comes across sometimes is
it was a little bit black and white, a little bit. She just wouldn't let anybody get in edgewise in terms of like, she wasn't even understanding that they were respecting her. Like, I don't know. And Bashir, I did not like Bashir in this episode, which was disappointing for me.
Interesting.
I was like, I finally kind of see what his early seasons are like for other viewers, perhaps. So I was like, okay, this episode's filing into the what episode?
Yep.
I don't remember that one.
Fair enough. What episode? Yeah. Yeah, Astor made a good point that Bashir seems to have an inappropriate relationship with his patient again. Going after challenging women. Daib actually makes a really good point comparing Bashir's interaction with Geordie LaForge. So the relation, and that actually kind of clicked some stuff into place for me of just their interactions, the women that they meet, the type of women that they like, and the type of characters that they like, and the people they pursue, and the method in which they pursue them. Some parallels there.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. It's interesting. A. Harvey, we're going to come to that in the next episode about how they try gay and lesbian characters in the 90s. And yeah, Bahana, I mean, made the point maybe doctor-patient relationships aren't considered unprofessional. We had that in TNG, right? Where Picard, like, straight up is like, no, it's fine for officers to hook up with each other. And obviously there's different, but there's still power dynamics, and they were fine with it. And then, but Voyager kind of retconned that. So it's interesting. I will say this is probably one of my least favorite DS9 episodes. Just whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite for sure. Yeah.
Sometimes the A plots I'm not a big fan of, but then the B plots kind of, I enjoy, and so I watch them for that. But when this one starts, and then I'm like, oh yeah, her, and then that guy in Quark's bar, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the B plot. Oh man, The only thing I like about this episode is the Klingon chef.
Oh, that was great.
Where they have their date. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the random like singing at the end.
Yeah.
He's in the bar. Very good.
Adorable. I love it. Yeah, so it's interesting. But some conversation about the relationships there. But let's carry on.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, so just I want to call out a couple of points. The they don't aid. Yes, and DS9 fan. I think the commentary it's still worth having, and this is an attempt to tackle it, whether or not it was successful. And then Bashir's emotional intelligence is a little bit troubling at times, but that's okay.
Fully admit, even though I still like him.
Yeah, exactly. The ethics manual is some interesting reading. Okay, so let's talk about rules of acquisition, because this is a interesting episode to talk about. If you don't remember, this is the one where basically the Grand Nagus wants to set up a Ferengi trade with the Gamma Quadrant for the first time, and basically puts Quark on point for that. So Quark is acting as the Grand Nagus representatives, and they're trying to establish a business presence there. This is the one with Pell the waiter, if that rings bells for people, that we find out is a disguised female Ferengi, who is disguising herself as a man to be able to do business with the Tulaberry wine. That's 2 people already in the chat mentioned the Tulaberry wine.
Tulaberry wine. And as someone who's worked in the wine business, I was like, not really that lucrative. Maybe you should be thinking about something else.
That's awesome. Now that's a new perspective. Okay, I'm very curious because you've had your first exposure to Ferengi was like the one Voyager episode and then the problematic TNG episode. So your relationship is growing.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. No, DS9. I've been very intrigued and amused and love the Ferengi, as you predicted would happen. This episode, they went back a few notches for me. Quark's going to need to do a little bit of damage control for my heart.
That's really funny. That's really funny.
Yeah, I did not like their behavior toward females.
Yeah.
Which is, understandable. They're not good. Pell was awesome though. I really liked her a lot. I'm always attracted to that kind of female character, somebody who's gonna kick down those types of doors. But yeah, when she took off the ears, I was like, my one note for this episode is like, a Ferengi female, because I'd never seen one before.
Right?
It was really cool. Yeah. So I loved her. Did not like anybody else. Did not like Nog, did not like Quark, did not like Grand Nagus. They were all not in my good graces.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love they set up this story, I feel, really well, where it starts with the them playing Dabo with Jadzia.
That is great.
She's fabulous. I mean, Jadzia is wonderful. And I love to, because you made this observation that I hadn't really clicked before, but when she's dealing with like the uncomfortable, harassment from Bashir at first and then Quark, occasionally, she just is like, yeah, kid, whatever. And you made the observation that, she's been around the block. Like, she knows how to deal with these guys. And that's absolutely, like, that kind of changed my opinion of it, where she was just like, she tells Quark, like, get your hand off of my leg. And he's like, oh, you mean this hand?
Yes.
Like, whatever.
I loved her in those scenes. Oh my God. So good.
So funny. And the thing that I want to talk about this more too, but just that scene in particular is interesting because Quark is kind of the most progressive of all of those. Like, he has no problem playing with Jadzia, right? Whereas the other Ferengi are just kind of like, but
totally. Yeah.
It's interesting. That we'll come back to that scene, Cairo, for sure. And she's been one of those guys before. I think that establishes it a little bit too. So Pell is amazing. She's disguising herself as a male because she's quite good at business. And she has fake lobes, so that's how we distinguish the male and female Ferengi, most primarily. As she ripped them off and threw them at the Grand Nagus. But one thing I find really interesting in this episode that I don't think I appreciated on the first watch, but I appreciate it now, was kind of, we mentioned in the chat and was mentioned in the documentary, the DS9 wholesale did not do great with LGBTQ representation. But I do argue on rewatching this episode, it's pretty progressive in the sense that first Jadzia picks up on Pell, the male Ferengi, right, in disguise, as being in love with Quark. Jadzia's having this nice conversation with Pell, and basically says, oh, you're in love with Quark. And then Pell immediately is like, whoa, you know my secret, I'm a woman. And Jadzia's like, oh, wait, you're a woman? Like, for her to call Pell out on being in love with Quark without, the gender knowledge, with no issue, just being like, oh, you're in love with Quark is interesting.
Yeah, that was a great little moment for sure.
Yeah.
It just made me love Dax even more. Like, I love her.
Yeah. But then even, we have to extend that a little bit to Quark as well, that when we get that scene with the two of them where the tension is building and Pell kisses Quark Quark shuts it down, but not in like a disgusted way, just in like a, nope, we're friends, we gotta be business partners, we can't have that nonsense here. He's not, and then like the next day, you know, he's like, what kiss? But he's not, I think remembering the context in which this show is being made in the 90s, the reaction to that in other shows, I think the only other one just from my personal experience that kind of deals with that possibly being called out or seen as gay that dealt with it well was Frasier. That's probably the only other show that's kind of held up to time. Otherwise, it's like that horrible, like, disgusted, what are you doing? You know, it gets violent and it's horrible. And this one, Quark was just like, no time for romance.
Yeah. I did pick up on that in that particular scene, and that was an interesting facet of it, in that you're right, he doesn't exactly, he's not disgusted because it's another man. He's just like, there's no time for this right now. We can't do this. And at first I think my brain said that he was, because we're so used to seeing those kinds of reactions. And I thought he was acting that way because it was another guy. But he doesn't actually say that or react that way. So yeah, that was a good moment too.
Yeah.
But when Quark realizes she's female, that was not a good moment.
It's a whole other thing. And that they end up, I mean, literally their way, because they like Pell, they're still furious. There's still the entrenched sexism that they're working through. But the fact that, like, at the end of the day, they all kind of like her and help her go establish something, even if it was just blackmail, you know, where the Grand Nagus was like, you all are in trouble, but like, well, so are you. Like, if you're going to call that, you did business with her too. So he's like, okay, just make her disappear.
Right.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
That was, yeah.
Also, first mention of the Dominion, which means nothing to you as a first-time viewer, but for long-time viewers, we're like, ooh, the Dominion.
I saw that on your notes, and I was like, wait, am I supposed to know what that is? Like,
not now.
Because you're like, first mention of the Dominion. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah. I'm surprised. It always surprises me on a rewatch of Deep Space Nine how early they lay the seeds for the Dominion. It's pretty interesting. So, and a couple comments here I just want to call out. Oh, thank you for the follow, Lady Erin. So, yeah, we talked. DS9er fan said, I love how Dax was more shocked that Pell was female than was that she loved Quark. Doesn't care that she thinks he's male and doesn't bat an eye. And then P. Stemish pointed out Babylon 5 had 2 male characters pretend to be married, and it was no big deal. So, thank you for pointing that one out. It's been a long time since I watched Babylon 5. Quark comes off as more uncomfortable because he isn't gay, that being uncomfortable that he thinks Pell is gay. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I like that. And then A. Harvey mentioned, I think a lot of the non-negative reaction to her being presented as a guy came from Armin, the guy who played Quark. He was really good about that. So that's cool. That's awesome. And Uncle Bill mentioned comes with generations of Dax experiences. Yeah, and I think that's what they could lean into, you know, and they do. That was where they were able to utilize some of that progressive storytelling. So, anywho, yeah. Any other thoughts on that one? So Quark is a little bit in the toilet for you right now. He's got some crawling out to do.
Just a bit.
Okay, fair enough. Next episode is Necessary Evil. So this is where Quark gets attacked in his bar, and it leads Odo to reopen an investigation into an unsolved murder. This is where they find the list of names in the old business. And that Rom basically broke into, and he's like really proud. It was adorable. And then we get the flashbacks into the first time Odo met Kira and Odo met Quark, and then the foundation for Kira and Odo's relationship. And then we end up finding out that Kira was the one who actually committed that murder in the first place, way back in the day, which is interesting. And immediately, people are on the same wavelength with me. Love Rom in this episode. This episode for me is just worth watching because of Rom. The way he brags about breaking into that wall safe and is kind of like proud of it and happy to tell Odo that he did that. The way he freaks out when Quark is attacked in the hospital and just screams. And there was a scene I actually paused and rewound where they all come in because he's screaming. And then he just kind of calmly walks into the stage, but still screaming at the top of his lungs. Cracks me up every time. And then just his whole finally gets to run the bar is hilarious. And yeah, his conflict about his brother dying versus getting to run the bar is so great. So anyway, that's
he's he's fantastic. And I love that, like, Odo, I think it's Odo, has to like remind him how to be a Ferengi.
Right.
He's like, but if Quark dies, you get the bar. And Rom is like, oh. Like, emotional response should be second. That response should have been first. Rom's he's so great.
I'm glad you like him. Yeah, I think this is a great, because really in this rewatch, we haven't got to know Rom very well yet. And
Not
so
yet.
This is a good foundation for that. But yeah, what else were your thoughts on this one? I just have to share my Rom love.
Yeah, Rom was definitely great in this. Honestly, like, as we were going through the notes this morning, this one got like kind of shoved in the middle of this whole thing, and I didn't remember a whole lot about it. I didn't have that many notes about it. I mean, I love seeing anything with that's Kira's backstory. I liked seeing that, and it was really cool seeing the flashback of DS9 as a Bajoran station. Like,
Yeah, you mean as a Cardassian station?
Cardassian station,
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Terok Nor.
Tarek Noor was the right. You said of course.
Yeah.
So as a not Starfleet,
right.
Place, and helping put in context like the different type of space that it was, and seeing Kira and Odo in like again put in context that they've known each other for so long, and have had this sort of secret. Between them. And yeah, there was a lot of fun intrigue. It was a fun whodunit type episode, but I didn't take away too much else.
That's
other
fair.
than
Yeah. And I love, I mean, I do think that they lay a good groundwork for Kira and Odo's relationship, that we get to see their relationship at the beginning. And then, when it's kind of revealed that Kira actually, her past basically comes back to haunt her. Yeah. And, she asks Odo, like, are we still friends? Does this change anything? And he doesn't answer. And my heart does. So, DS9 fan asked, did it change your perception of Kira at all, this episode?
Honestly, not really, because I would have expected that from her, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of a badass and had that in her, I feel like.
Because this is the first time we'd known that she was this Bajoran freedom fighter, and thank you, Hibson and Seven. Hi. But this was the first time that we actually saw her be violent in her past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if you kind of had mentally established, like, yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Then that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Sorry, just butchered your username. She was a freedom fighter in an authoritarian regime, and that's one side's freedom fighter is another side's terrorist. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I like this whodunit, and it's this whole idea of like people on this list are getting knocked off, and then they have Rom do like the hypnosis thing to try to figure out who the name was, and it was like he got Chesso, and so they're trying to find Chesso, and then this guy with a similar name gets killed, and but Kira knows the whole time, and that is kind of a betrayal for Odo. Her past came back to haunt her, so it's interesting. Astro asked, what's the statute of limitations of murder on Deep Space Nine? I mean, yeah, the occupation kind of changed hands, so whoever was in charge. But But I do think it's interesting, too, that Odo and 16-bit Eric, hi. We're about to get a lot of people.
Woohoo!
I think it's great that her, Odo, and Quark are like the only holdovers. You know, that's one of the more interesting things here. So, seeing how they've seen the whole transition and everything is fascinating.
Definitely, yeah. That I hadn't quite fully appreciated that, and this episode made that pretty clear. Is that those three are like some of the only holdovers from when it was that different station.
Yeah, so they have this like unique dynamic between them, and we're getting a bunch of follows. Thank you, Riker. Thank you, Darth Pillow. Time 628, Lord Portico, Alexander. Wow. Okay, it's still coming in. We're gonna see Janeway's face a lot for a little while. You're right, Chuck. Excellent. Oh my God. Yeah. Nope. There's a lot. Okay, I can't catch everyone. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We are talking about the first sort of chunk of episodes of season 2 in Deep Space Nine. Samantha's watching it for the first time. I'm watching it for I've lost track of how many
millionth time.
It's my most rewatched series, I think. So, yeah, and thank you, Domestic, for the subs. That's excellent. And all of the follows coming in. Yay! Yay! So yeah, we just finished talking about Necessary Evil, where we got a lot more backstory to Kira, Odo, and Quark and their relationship. Thank you, DJ Phoenix. Yeah, me too. I just got it. Alexander, we are in, so I think we're on episode 9 of season 2. So the episode we're on is Second Sight. We just got mention of the Dominion. I pointed it out. Samantha went, who's the Dominion? So, in starting to get to know Gul Dukat, that the dude plays a long game. So that's an interesting part as well. And, yeah, we got a lot of Garrick Jazz hands popping in. And Samantha is tolerating my endless obsession and love for Garrick.
Who, by the way, I forgot to mention this note. Why does he dress like Freddy Krueger? And he sort of looks like him, too.
90s fashion, what can I say? I mean, if I had to choose between Garrick and Freddy Krueger, obviously. But, because he's Garrick. We love him. Yeah. We love him. He can do whatever he wants. That's part of the deception.
It sort of briefly takes me out of it for, just a split second.
Fair enough.
Like, he looks like Freddy Krueger.
Valid. I appreciate that. So, all right. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Second Sight, because even though, and a couple people in the chat when I mentioned the episode were kind of like, oh, Second Sight. I never forget this episode, and actually this is one where I never really need to. It's like, I remember this plot all throughout. So this is a Cisco-focused episode. If you don't remember, Second Sight is the one where he basically meets this woman late at night on the promenade, and they have a connection. And it's the first time he's kind of felt romantic toward anyone since his wife died. And then we meet her again when they are dealing with this super arrogant, terraforming bro scientist dude.
He was a piece of work.
But
also, not far-fetched enough. There's people like that.
That's why he worked. I think the wiki referred to him as a egomaniacal terraformer, and I think that's the best description that we can get here. And she shows up again as his wife, but she has no memory of meeting Cisco. So it turns out that it's this telepathic projection when she's under emotional distress, and that and she has no memory of it, which is just upsetting. She can't get out of this marriage. She hates it. And then the dude throws himself into the sun to let her free and get all the credit. So well done. Yeah. Anywho.
Yeah. His slight possessive nature over her was very uncomfortable. But yeah, this episode, so I started watching it and fully admit I was a little distracted and probably playing on my phone. And she comes back the second time, and I kind of looked up and I was like, wait, what is this a dream? Is this a flash? At first I thought it was a flashback of him and his wife. Was Jane Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Jennifer.
I think so.
Um,
I just second guessed myself. I think it's Jennifer.
Yeah, and then they got to the scene with Jake saying, Dad, if you're in love, that's okay. And I was like, oh, hang on, I gotta rewind this and watch it again, which I did, and it was, kind of heartbreaking that he has this connection on sort of the eve of her death, and
yeah, it's the 4th anniversary of Wolf 359.
And not eve of her death, anniversary.
Yeah.
But also like the thing goes on, I'm just like, dude, Sisko, come on, man. Same dress, same hairstyle, 2 nights in a row. She literally disappears. Come on, man.
let's think about
I get you're heartbroken, but
yeah, you should have seen enough weirdness by now.
Right, exactly. That's what's always funny about Star Trek to me. Like, sometimes things happen and they're like, what is going on? This is a normal person. And it's like, no, they're not. Yeah. So yeah, Wolf 359, with the context of Deep Space Nine, for those of you who might not remember or know, but that was why they established that Sisko's relationship with Picard is not great, because his wife died at the Battle of Wolf 359. So yeah, not ideal. And yeah, a few people mentioning, yes, this is where Sisko still has hair, so well done there. You'll see, there's a physical transformation as well as a shift in the story arcs once Sisko no longer has hair. So, and you'll kind of see some comments from people from that. And I also want to just take another second now that we got through all the notifications, but I want to thank 16-Bit Eric for the raid and for sending people there our way, because we're happy to have you here. So yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know, I think, again, they struggle with chemistry when they try to put main characters and have one-off romances. I think it worked a little bit, but as mentioned in the chat, and you saw too, that it's more about establishing Jake's relationship with his dad, that he's like, Dad, it's okay, that's big. That was really sweet. They have such great scenes together. I mean, their relationship is one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah. It's surprising that they do it really well. They get away with it. And as you said, they wrote that husband, Gideon Saitek, way too well.
Yeah.
It's just
too realistic.
Yeah.
I think it was Kira had some great one-liners though about she wants to leave and Sisko's like, don't you dare.
Yeah.
And it's something like he's the best in the galaxy or whatever, and she's like, I know, he told me.
Right. Exactly. No secret here. Absolutely. So let's talk about the last episode, because I want to spend some time talking about this one. And I mentioned I have to jet at the top of the hour to do another Comic-Con that I will send everyone to when we get there as well. I'm doing a science Q&A for Fort Collins Comic-Con. But the next episode we're going to talk about is... Oh, sorry, did you have any final thoughts on this one? I think
not really.
I covered the big parts.
Yeah.
It's one of those episodes I wouldn't rank very high in quality, but it's weirdly memorable. It sticks with. I don't forget the plot. I'm not like, wait, which episode was this again? It's a decent story.
I liked the catalyst for the story was Sisko's personal heartbreak. And it's the anniversary, and all this other extraneous stuff happens, but it's mostly about him just not necessarily coming to terms with it, just dealing with it.
Yeah, exactly. So the next episode is an interesting one. This is Sanctuary. This is where we get this species that comes through the wormhole, and they are essentially like wandering refugees who are trying to find their home. The universal translator does not pick up their language right away, so there's the interesting dynamics. And then they essentially are like, well, all of our readings say that planet is our promised homeland, and it's Bajor. And Bajor's like, hell to the no.
No, thank you.
We have been through enough with this. And it's an interesting one. Before we get into the whole story, Again, I just have to insert my personal favorite moment here. I love the scene with Jake and Nog sitting on top of the promenade talking about Jake dating the Dabo girl, and then how they're like, he's like, "What did you tell your dad?" And Jake says, he's like, "I said I was doing homework," and Nog says, "I could never use that line. My dad knows I never do my homework."
You know, he knows himself. He knows what.
But it's interesting.
Jake and Nog.
Jake and Nog. I'm glad you're already on board. Yeah, exactly. No worries, Wandering Tim. Thanks for being here. Daip, we never really see the species again, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this one, Samantha. This is a deep episode.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it was interesting, the sort of complex beginning, middle, and end that this episode goes through, particularly with Kira and the leader. I don't know if we know her name.
I didn't write the notes down for this one well enough. I'll look it up.
But we both mentioned that, you know, their friendship was really interesting and very strong, and, you know, in the beginning and the middle, and then it kind of goes through this evolution by the end, and they don't see eye to eye and have to sort of part ways. And I thought that was sort of, you know, I felt bad for Kira, because I think she was seeing the complexity of this situation, and but stuck to her guns and being like, we can't let you settle on Bajor. But then the woman, I thought, had some good points. You know, it was a little weird that they wanted to settle on an already settled planet. I mean, that
they keep trying to make that argument. They're like, we're here, right? But
but so it's like neither side like approached this from a compromise situation. Both of them were like, we have these opinions and we're not really talking about a way to make this work. We're talking about no and no and yes. Like there's no in between. I mean, it was an interesting episode from that political, the Bajoran political perspective again.
And as we said, for the people who came in later, we said at the top, this set of episodes, we talked about, this is season 2, episodes 5 through 10. This really sets up that the Bajorans aren't that there's some gray to the Bajorans here.
Oh, yeah.
That there's a lot of racism, territorialism. I mean, some of it's earned and some of it's completely valid, but it's interesting to see them played out sometimes as the bad guys in some of these episodes.
Yeah.
So, a couple people mentioned this in the chat. I think probably my favorite scene and the one that stuck with me so much is when they're not communicating. They haven't got the communication. Kira and her are connecting, and I love that we see that there is a process for when the universal translator isn't working. It's like, okay, let's put the senior officers there. And this is just my interpretation, but like put the senior officers there, who they connect with, who they resonate with, find their leader, have that, the person in charge connects with someone, they take them around, they kind of food, universal food. Yeah, we're friends. But I love the dress scene. This whole idea that she's like, is this pretty? Are you like this? And then buys it for her. And then once the universal translator works, she's like, I thought that was the ugliest dress I've ever seen. And Kira's like, oh, thank God, me too. And this is a great bonding moment. So
that was a brilliant moment. Yeah, I love that. And it was fun seeing the universal translator process. But it was also sort of like, they're basically speaking what sounds like Italian. And I was like a little bit surprised that the universal translator was not getting that. And it gets Klingon, so.
But it's had a lot of time to work through Klingon.
This is true. They probably had the same issue at the beginning.
And it's a really decent episode. And I think I do always forget about that third act, not twist, but just evolution of their relationship where they're at an impasse. And the woman, this Korean, Hanik, I got the name, Hanik. She's basically like, I wish we could have been friends, but we can't be. You're not helping us. We'll go on our way then. And it's kind of like, oh, unique. It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't tie up in a bow. You know, kind of left sort of just they went on their way. Exactly. Yeah.
I also like that, that was one thing I was going to point out too. Oh, the way that they established very clearly, and I think well, a matriarchal society, and how they established that, and how the Starfleet, they navigate that pretty well too, because they are reflective of our own society where it's majority men in the senior positions, and the men in those positions are just kind of like, is it okay if I'm here? I don't need to be, you know, they got it. It wasn't their default setting. So it was interesting.
It was interesting. I love that they said that men are too emotional to be leaders. It's like, well, you might have a point there.
Yeah, that was really funny. They're constantly fighting. So we can't have men be leaders here. And Ruth said, I think this is an underrated episode. I would agree. I think it's interesting because they made a fascinating narrative choice to make them physically gross. You know, that they were shedding skin everywhere. And Quark and Rom and Nog and Jake all kind of point that out. You know, they're like, oh, they're gross, they're disgusting. And I think that was an interesting choice to make because it preyed on our own prejudices that we still were just like, oh, they're kind of gross, you know, and forced us as viewers to challenge that. And I think if they had been visually appealing, just in a not shedding skin everywhere way, but if they had made them not have that feature, I think it would have made it a little bit more black and white of like, you know, we would have been more defensive of them, but that's interesting.
That's a good point. Yeah, potentially.
Let me see if I had anything else on here. Yeah, all I said, my only notes on that was the whole Sanctuary thing, Bajor versus Draylon 2 stresses me out. That's it.
Yep.
Send tweet. That's it. And you said again, Bajorans aren't that great here. It's pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting.
So yeah, so this was a good set of episodes. I think. What were your thoughts on the whole evolution now?
The whole evolution now.
Yeah.
I think this set of episodes, you know, again, kept stripping away some of the black and whiteness that DS9 is clearly very good at. Particularly with the Ferengi, I need a good Quark episode to make me
You'll get one.
Really love him again. I know I will. And the Bajorans, you know, I'm not such a fan. I get why some their reactions are the way they are, but they're not. I mean, nothing's black and white, obviously, and I appreciate that this is sort of helping introduce that.
Yeah, and I think it does a good job of cementing like why they aren't in the Federation. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I get it.
Totally.
That's interesting. All right. So yeah, we have, I'm so excited that we're going to keep watching. I'm just so happy to be on Deep Space Nine.
Me too. This has really been enjoyable.
I didn't shut up about it for about the second, from about the halfway through the 7th season of TNG. I was like,
just wait.
Just want to watch Deep Space Nine. I just want to watch Deep Space Nine. Yes, so we have 5 minutes until I am going to be on another panel, and let me just throw that channel in here. I'll be hosting it on this channel as well. I don't know if we'll be able to rate it, because I don't think they're going to go live until I'm actually on there, and I got to be on there first. So let me just put that panel here in the chat. Yeah, I don't know Peace Demish. That would be great. So that I'll be on that channel in like 5 minutes doing a science Q&A for Fort Collins Comic-Con with myself, Claire Raftery, who's I'm not sure if I got the title right, but the Director of Science Outreach for the National Solar Observatory, and Ken Carpenter, who is a PI on Hubble. So awesome science astronomy people. I'll take a back seat. And then Samantha and I will be back not next week. I think we're going to have to take the week off for Labor Day and virtual Dragon Con shenanigans.
You can't be there in person.
Yeah, I'm gonna sleep in costume and drink heavily. That's my solution.
Yep. That sounds pretty much like what I'll be doing.
Yes, no worries. But in 2 weeks we will be back and we'll be talking about the next 6 episodes. So those are Rivals, The Alternate, Armageddon Game. That's the one with O'Brien and Bashir and the bomb and all that stuff. I'm excited about that one. Whispers, brutal O'Brien episode. Paradise and Shadow Play. So those are going to be our next 6 episodes. And a la Moraine on that note. But yeah, thank you, Samantha. This was fun. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for being in the chat. We will catch you next time.
See you soon.
All right. Bye.